Which team do you trust more heading into the season?
I think I trust
What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us again on Crain and Company. Make sure you're subscribed. And again, without you, there is no us. And it would not be SEC Media Days if we didn't have our buddy, host of the Josh Pate College Football Show, Josh Pate himself. JP, what's up, buddy? What's up?
Yes.
How's it going?
Although.
Uh-oh. I already don't.
If we're being real, this would probably go off without a hitch if I never showed up.
Well,
We'd probably be fine.
Well,
we would talk.
We would talk. We would,
It's
we
not
would
the
power
situation
through
in
it.
Ukraine, after all.
No, not at all. Which, good. I'm glad you brought that up.
I heard you have a great exit.
Yeah. Rumors are flying that you're in the Pentagon last week. That's the big announcements.
Well, Beamer went to Washington, so why can't I go?
We went to Washington. We convinced a bunch of Chinese tourists that Cone was Elon Musk's cousin.
Cone loitered on the front
He did.
lawn
Yeah.
of the
Well,
people's
I took
house.
half a dozen pictures
Well,
up there. Michigan people, man.
The funniest part is somewhere in China right now, there's like a Chinese grandmother telling her grandchildren the story about how she met Elon Musk.
Who am I to take that from her?
I go to America. I meet this ogre.
He
takes a dozen pictures to claim he's supposed to be there. Like, so did Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, Blaine said, don't do your secret wave.
Came here for football. We're sorry.
Yeah, all right. So, pivoting to football.
Oh, holy crap.
We're actually going to talk college football.
Okay.
I know.
One of the most fascinating narratives around the country to me, one of the most intriguing things about this season, is the amount of big-time powerhouse brands in college football that have really good rosters around a new starting quarterback, whether that be a young guy that they've been waiting to that's been developed or somebody through the transfer portal. We can go down the list, and the big ones obviously in the SEC and the Big Ten, but I want to stick in the SEC, and I want to talk about three teams. And I want to ask in every aspect, so the three phases, offense, defense, and special teams, when you look at Georgia, when you look at Texas, when you look at Alabama, that all have really good rosters around a new starting quarterback, which team do you trust more heading into the season? Right? And you can factor in schedule too.
Yeah.
Like that, that's got to be factored in.
I think I trust Georgia the most. I mean, all those big boys have to come to them. You said I could factor in schedule.
100, well, you have to.
That's part of it. I also, I don't really know how often we've looked at a team win their conference. And this is not fortune cookie like bumper sticker stuff. They legitimately view last year as a disappointment. Like they legitimately walked away from last year with program-wide teaching points, if you will.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't run the ball last year. We didn't play. We played situationally or maybe spotty solid defense, but there were times where it let us down.
It wasn't the dominant level that we're used to seeing.
And I'm telling you right now, like, if you look at their personnel up front, it's not vintage Georgia again this year. So, like, again this year, you're having to ask yourself, tailback room, defensive front, like, all right, he doesn't have just future first-round littered roster. What are they going to be? Well, I still think they got one of the best coaching staffs in the country. They've got an army of, like, high-level people there. I just think when you put that kind of person collectively in that kind of pressure cooker and then have all the big boys come to them, that yields results. But is there a wrong answer here? Because then I was
There's really not.
Well,
you
I was
could justify it in any of the three ways.
I was going to also go with how much we learned about the theme of having guys stick around from Ohio State last year, and then thinking, okay, Bama's got that same thing this year. Bama's DB room, it's a miracle how they've replenished it. You got a really good wide receiver core. It's just everything but. If I get question mark filled at the quarterback position. But then, so I'm giving you all three answers, by the way.
Which it's
And just play the one that makes sense in November.
We're going to do that.
If one of them explodes, it's Arch Manning.
Yeah.
Like, if one of those quarterbacks goes off, it's probably Arch Manning. And if that's the case, then we're not even talking about, okay, can everything around him uplift him? Texas could afford to have some vulnerability and some deficiency, and that guy make up for it. Like, it's probably the only team out of those three that can afford to have deficiency if they scale at the quarterback position like they can. Because maybe we're just selling them short. I don't really see a world where Ty Simpson or Gunnar Stockton are in the Heisman conversation in late November. I do see a possibility with Arch. He's already the favorite right now.
Well, and again, that's something we were talking about a couple weeks ago too. Was as far as if you're Sarkisian or you're Ryan Grubb, you're the Georgia coaching staff on offense. who's going to let their new quarterback do the most the earliest? And again, I look at Sark and the way he goes about it with Arch, and I actually think it's Arch, even though they're going to go on the road to Ohio State, because Kirby's going to want to run the ball and play defense early with a new quarterback. Yeah. I think Alabama's going to try and establish the run early against Florida State, even though, we know Michael Penix Jr. and Ryan Grubb's pass, Coney, threw it around a million times. So do you think Arch is going to have the most opportunity because the playbook's going to be more open for him early in the year?
Yeah. And I don't think they view him as a first-year starter either. Yeah. Like, they view him as having been here a long time. He got spot duty last year. Honestly, if you are who we think you are as Steve Sarkisian, and if Arch is who we think he is and they think he is, he ought to be given the most rope early. I mean, what does everyone talk about? Wow, how mature he seems beyond his years. Well, okay. I mean, how many kids with five-star talent also show that kind of maturity, but are disasters in decision-making on the field? Not very frequently does that happen. Yeah. So, I mean, if I were him, I found myself last year trotting Quinn Ewers out there, me knowing he's hurt more than the rest of the country does, and being hamstrung at the quarterback position. If I'm Steve Sarkisian, that's how I win. Yeah. And I don't want to just like pocket knife people in the early part of the season and get by. Knowing I got to go to Athens, I got to go to Gainesville. Yeah. I'm going to have to win like 5 high leverage games if I'm going to win a title anyway. He's going to have to be the reason I do it.
Starting a podcast can feel overwhelming. Scripts, setup, filming schedule, logos. We're trying to figure it all out. But what we did find out is when you're launching something new, your to-do list, well, it grows daily, and it threatens to take over your life. But finding a tool that both helps and simplifies can be a game changer. And for millions of businesses, that's Shopify. Make that noise, David.
Cha-ching!
That's us making money. Shopify powers millions of businesses worldwide and 10% of all U.S. e-commerce. With Shopify, they're behind everything from big names like Gymshark to that new brand you just discovered. Starting out is simple. Just pick one of their hundreds of templates and customize it to match your style with no design skills needed. And creating content? Well, that's where AI really shines. You need product descriptions or catchy headlines? They got it. You want better product photos? They've got you covered. But the best part is how easy marketing becomes. You can reach your customers wherever they are, whether they're scrolling through social media, checking their email, or whatever. Now, behind the scenes, Shopify handles everything else: inventory, shipping, returns, all the details you don't want to worry about. Because the truth is, if you're ready to sell something, Shopify is ready for you. So turn your big business into
cha-ching.
Good job. With Shopify,
rich, y'all.
Yeah, we're rich. With Shopify on your side, and sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Crain. That's shopify.com/CRAIN. No, and Cone, you're not going to beat Ohio State on the road early by going there and running butter and jelly right at them. Like, you're going to have to open it up.
They have good players still.
Yeah, they do. They do.
I really like the point that Texas doesn't view Arch Manning as a first-year starting quarterback, and a lot of that is because of the hype that he came in with. And there are some serious parallels to draw with Tim Tebow in 2006. Had those very specific packages. Chris Leak was still the starting quarterback. They won the national championship. Tebow takes over the next year, and he wins the Heisman Trophy. Is that in store for Arch Manning? Time will tell. But I agree with you guys. It's fascinating that Alabama, Georgia, Texas all starting new quarterbacks, no matter how they're viewed, they're new quarterbacks starting this year. LSU is not. Okay, LSU is returning really the only 4,000-yard passer in the country, and Brian Kelly addressed team needs via the portal more than he has in his tenure at LSU. How good is Louisiana State going to be? I mean, can they win this league this year?
They're as good as they can run the ball. I mean,
Which is crazy.
I think that. But I thought that when Jaden Daniels won a Heisman and they still lost 3 games.
Yeah.
Like, I think that about running back and the DB position. Mm-hmm. Just as an example of like how egregious it is to ever find yourself in a position at LSU where that's where you're deficient. Yeah. I would argue you should never be athletically or deficient in any position at LSU, but especially those, because, I mean, DB's been the thing that even when they've sucked in the past, hey, dude, you're not going to throw the ball on them. Yeah. You may run the ball on them, you're not going to throw the ball on them. And so all of a sudden, like 2 years ago, you found that to be the case. Then last year, not that it was a problem that just emerged last year, but last year it was an extreme problem of we can throw the ball. We're in the 20s in most of the passing efficiency numbers. We're in the 100s in rushing statistics. And that's how you can win a big game, but also lose by 35 at home, like in the same season. Because when you can't run the ball, your results are like this. They're highly volatile. So, just like Brian Kelly said when he was here yesterday, dude, we're really focused and committed on winning week 1. Like you weren't in the past?
Yeah.
So you tell me, well, we're really focused on being able to run the ball this year. Well, that either suggests you weren't focused on it in the past or you're trying something different. If you're trying something different, you certainly don't owe us an explanation on what you're doing different. We'll find that out in the season. But what if they go to Clemson? It's a competitive game. It's like 30-23, but they got like 38 yards rushing. Yeah. That's on the surface. They're not out of anything, but it starts to make me worried that you're going to, like, you should never have to ask Garrett Nussmeier, I don't care if he's a 19th year returning starter, to shoulder the entire load. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff you ask a kid who maybe like it just happens to be a star at Utah or something like that, just randomly, or Oregon State. Never at LSU should that be the case.
Well, and again, especially if you're a pocket, quarterback. Like Garrett Nussmeier's not going to save you in the run game or make two guys. Jaden Daniels on that team, even though the team wasn't amazing running the ball, his running element was so good that you still had to respect at any point in any given time. I got to defend that extra space. Bringing up LSU, and I do want to get back to the Georgia, Alabama, Texas talk, but bringing up LSU, something kind of hit me yesterday. When I look at LSU and the situation they're in, and I look at Penn State and the situation they're in, now, I know LSU has obviously won national championships more recently, and there's more pressure, I think, on James Franklin to win a championship. But they kind of feel like standalones in their conference because they are one of the few bigger brands that are returning a quarterback. Is Penn State and LSU kind of in a similar cavity of, hey, this year could be huge for us because we've got a good roster and we're bringing back a quarterback that has a lot of experience?
Yeah, I think it's actually three teams in that little bunker because I think Dabo and Clemson are in there as well.
Same way, yeah.
And it's a... honestly, with LSU, I don't classify them as a window team. Penn State seems like they're in a little bit of a window here.
So they feel like they're all in, right?
And Clemson, although it's crazy to say about a team with 2 titles in the last decade, but we all agree the entire world has changed in the past decade. So in this new landscape, maybe Clemson's in a little bit of a window as well. Yeah. Now, what you could argue is Clemson, Penn State, and Brian Kelly are in windows.
Yeah.
And that's probably the way I would put it. Brian Kelly is so interesting because everyone's done the hot seat thing, and I've hesitated to say his name in hot seat. I don't really.
Well, that contract too. Like there's a lot. It's a lot of cash on the table.
Let's say contract wasn't an issue. Even then, I would have him like there's a little scale just off camera here of like a height chart. Yeah. So if below 5 feet was on the hot seat, he'd be like 5'2" to me, but with the chance for someone to take his knees out and him to fall during this season.
Quickly.
Yes, because what happened with him is when he got that job, yes, they beat Bama year one. They go to Atlanta year one. What he did was he flushed a lot of Louisiana people out of the building in year one. And he didn't have to pay a price for it immediately on the field. But you notice the overall defensive nature when it regresses and you can't run the ball and like you precipitously slide, well, everyone looks and says, whether this is right or wrong, well, that makes perfect sense. I mean, everyone who knows this program uniquely, he got rid of. Because he thought it was his way more than the Louisiana way that would win. And when you do that, as long as you win, it's not a problem. But the moment you don't win,
for sure,
you burn up all your equity.
Exactly.
And that's why he's in a little bit of a different window this year.
Yeah, and they're hot to trot.
The deficiencies for LSU are so glaring for Brian Kelly. You can't run the ball, one. This is the worst defenses I've seen in LSU in a long time. You're still winning games, but I think what really hurt him is having Jaden Daniels and all this talent receiver. You put up all those numbers, you win the Heisman, you win the Biletnikoff, everything, and you still really have nothing to show for it. So this team at the LSU, if you look at it, you have Whit Weeks, you have some pieces on defense. I just don't know because what are they 0-5 in their last openers?
Yeah.
Well, and you walk into
this may be the toughest one.
This Clemson team is built like the old Clemson teams. Maybe not from a skill position wise. They're young there and they still have some time to grow. But defensively, that's how they beat Nick Saban. That's how they went toe-to-toe with the best. And I'm just telling you, LSU fans are not going to wait for Brian Kelly. 9 wins is not enough if you don't make the playoffs.
Also, they're so reliant, LSU is, on portal guys to start for them this year, which could work. But there's a difference in asking that to have coalesced by week 8 versus what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Come out of the gate, program that's already struggled historically under Kelly in week one games. Just I'm going to throw a bunch of stuff against the wall, really good pieces, but it's just going to be a team in week 1.
Against a team that returns the most production in college football.
I just think
at home.
The intangibles don't like light up the board green for them. No. but that's also why God makes us play the games.
For sure.
Yeah. So
and
we'll
the
see.
defense, I think, will be better. I think Blake will have a better.
I know we want to focus on the SEC. I just want to push back on the Penn State window. Point.
Window to win a
1
national
second.
championship is what I mean.
Well, they have proven consistently to be able to win double-digit games,
Sure.
right? Like that's been pretty consistent, and I think they benefit so much with the removal of divisions in the Big Ten,
Yep.
kind of like an Ole Miss in the SEC. But I will admit the point that it does seem like this year they have the most from a roster standpoint, plus a returning quarterback, where it's like, hey, it kind of is now or never.
Yeah, it's like if when I was growing up, I measured, we're going to use the height analogy again. I remember we had standard door frames in my house. Not everyone was you. Not everyone was like 6'8" when they were in 5th grade.
Yeah.
Some of us had to grow.
Sasquatch, did you
Yes,
call me?
some of us had to
It
grow
was
the
third,
natural
It was
way.
third grade.
Yeah, it was third grade with Cone.
But I would stand.
He went to the high school.
I dreamed to be able to touch the top of the door frame.
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember there was a period, by the time I was in 6th grade, I could do it. But like 4th grade, 5th grade, you're standing on your tippy toes and you realize, like, there's a point. If you're that far away from touching, it doesn't matter how hard you reach.
Yeah.
Like, unless you jump, you can't touch it. So Penn State, you're talking about how, well, they've been a consistent double-digit game winner. And hey, without divisions now, they've got a better shot. But the shot is just, inevitably, they're going to run up against one of the big boys. It's been Ohio State. Last year, it was Ohio State they lost because of the division structure change. They got a shot at Oregon. They also lost. So, yeah, they've been close. But it's like, I'm close to touching the door frame. But yet, that final little, it looks so insignificant, but that final little half inch or an inch, I can't make it happen unless I grow. So, like, if they grew, you don't find out against Purdue or Michigan State. You find out when they go to Columbus, and they've got all the experience edge in the world, and they've got a third-year returning starter at quarterback, and like, you're as healthy, you're as strong as you will have ever been. They, relatively speaking, are as vulnerable as they will have ever been. If you can't get it done in those spots, Oregon, it's a brand new team. They come to you in week 5, whiteout. If you can't get it done in that spot, when are you going to get it done in terms of winning a championship? You'll as long as Franklin's there, they're so consistent. They'll always be where they've been. I want to know, like, is there anything above and beyond that?
Yeah, last one I got for you, Josh. When you look around the league, we got a pretty good idea who people are going to vote for at the top. Glad they still do a poll.
Do you really?
I got a pretty good. It's going to be some order of Texas will probably be 1.
You think so?
They'll probably
Okay.
put Texas at 1. They'll put Georgia or Bama at 2.
I think Georgia
and
probably.
then probably
So
LSU
from a betting
3.
standpoint,
and then
Texas is favored, Georgia
yeah,
is second,
and then LSU
Alabama's
fans are going to
third,
be
and
pissed.
LSU's fourth.
But
Right.
is there a team? And when you look at Florida, their roster that we really like, tough schedule. Oklahoma, I think they're going to have a bounce back year. A&M, I don't think enough people are talking about Marcel Reed, but is there a team in the league this year with all the changes at the quarterback position that you could see surprising everybody, maybe a team outside of the top 4 winning that we've listed kind of winning the conference?
It would be Texas A&M,
Yeah.
because Texas A&M is the one who will have to search the least for its identity. They are not a place. They've got a returning starter at quarterback. We're not even talking about it. We're almost talking about
Nobody talks about
it's
it.
just Garrett Nussmeier. Elsewhere, it's just this barren landscape of
Yeah.
quarterback production. Well, it's not exactly. It's just that if you don't have a returning Heisman contender, people classify you as not having a returning starter.
Yeah.
All right, well, Marcel Reed comes back. If they're healthy at tailback, they should have one of the best ground games in the country. We get to see that tested pretty early on when they go to Notre Dame, by the way. I cannot imagine Mike Elko saying what he said about that defense to end last year, putting his hands around the throat of that defense, figuratively, and it not being significantly improved this year. So we have seen defensive personnel evolve to account for spread and a lot more up-tempo, a lot more passing-based offenses, which means personnel is smaller.
Yeah.
If I get A&M just throwing it back to like a 1997 bowling ball style offense, look, it may not garner the biggest ratings. It may not have the most fireworks
But it
attached to
works.
it. But what it could be is we're 10-2 and we're in Atlanta in
Yeah.
December.
Yeah, and I think the schedule, at least from what we think we know about these teams, it's somewhat navigatable, if that's even a word.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I feel like A&M could look a lot like Notre Dame last year.
Sure.
I don't think that's
Sure,
crazy.
absolutely.
Which is funny because they'll get their shot.
Yeah,
right. They'll get and Oklahoma. My mind was going to Oklahoma. Both those teams get their shot in week 2. I mean, Texas A&M going to go on the road to Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to find out. Oklahoma going to host Michigan week 2. We get to find out a lot of information out of conference games.
Well, I can't wait. Josh, it's always so good to see
Pleasure,
you, buddy.
as always.
Host of the Josh Pate College Football Show, geopolitical savant. The man can do it all.
Oh, look at that. You say Texas A&M and
Yeah, Billy Lucci shows up.
Yes.
Well, I thought you had to just do that.
Look at that.
Say
The man picks Texas A&M.
literally. I thought you it was one of those like Bloody Mary things where I have to say Billy's name
If
3
anyone-
times and
Watching-
turn around in the mirror.
If anyone has sat on a porch in the South and heard the sound of a mosquito's buzz getting
Yeah.
closer to your ear, that is William Lucci. When you start talking to
Billy's out here watching you eat dinner.
yeah.
you'll say Marcel? What'd you say about Marcel?
Yeah. All right. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks for joining us. Got some more great content coming here from SEC Media Days 2025 on Crain & Company.